my friends in Nerd Nation. The dynamic duo of goofball geeks are back. We have taken the old moniker out of the mothballs, and Cheap Seats and the Stickman podcast is alive one more time. I am, as always, Steve Rogers, a.k.a. Jason Burgos, and with me is my main man and lover of all things baby blue color, the incomparable Tony Stark, a.k.a. Jose Maldonado. Jose, what it do? Happy New Year's, happy holidays.
Happy New Year and happy holidays to you and to everybody that's listening, man. Woo! If you hear that, that's a round of applause, like literally. You can't really make it out, but trust me, it's there, man. But it is good to be back, man. We got a lot to talk about. It's kind of why we congregated here today, man. There's a lot to discuss. The year in review, some big news and some big things that we want to go over, and we have to share it with the public, man.
Yeah, I mean, for our nerds like us, I mean, it's enjoyable to get around and talk and just air grievances and thoughts and opinions, and we just
it's what we live for.
Yeah, really. I mean, just bitching about stuff and complaining and like just getting some good laughs. I mean, and at the end of the year, it's always fun to look back on a year and your favorite, pastimes and entertainment formats, and we felt the need to come back and just talk about a few things. I mean, we're going to focus on mainly some wrestling talk, a lot of wrestling talk, year in review. We're going to do some movie talk, favorite movies from this year, but I mean, that's going to be all you because I just did not see as much as I would like this year. And
busy man.
Yeah, and then we're going to talk about that Fox Disney deal, which is mind-blowing for nerds like us that love comics and superheroes, and then some other stuff. But I mean, let's jump right into it, and we want to get right to the main thing right away, and that's WWE Wrestler of the Year. My pick, and honestly, it's both your pick as well, so we can go back and forth on this. Is it's pretty easy. AJ Styles. I mean, there was some good cases to be made by articles I've seen. Like I sent you that Rolling Stone article that named Miz as their WWE Performer of the Year, Wrestler of the Year, which I thought was fair. I mean, well deserved. I saw recently, I think it was yesterday, Sports Illustrated came out with their Wrestler of the Year as Kenny Omega, which again, fair choice, totally understandable. But I mean, I was reading the interwebs today, and it was a story showing Carl Anderson was on recently on Steve Austin's podcast, and he talked about that he's been saying since 2014 when he first got to meet AJ and when he went to New Japan, he's the best wrestler alive. He's the best one doing it. And he made the point of saying, like, just those nuances, like when he sells a punch, he's just devastated. When he's, selling stuff. I mean, I remember when he first came to WWE, I didn't watch a lot of TNA. I knew completely about AJ. I knew how talented he was, but I was always worried about his mic skills because what I saw, he was okay. And he's totally, made himself a very competent, talented guy on the mic. I mean, he really is the complete package. I mean, if he was 6 foot, the WWE would be pushing him down your throat like Roman Reigns. But since he's not, he's had his skills has had to push him to the top level, and he's just become unfreaking deniable at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's an obvious choice, but it is the right one, man. I mean, all due respect to Kenny Omega, to The Miz, to other people in the conversation, Okada out there in Japan, and everybody like that. AJ Styles is the best in the world right now. He's the best going. You talk about the it factor, man. I mean, he has it in spades. He makes the matches. You're just compelled. It's the reason that we watch wrestling in the first place is for performers like AJ Styles, man. And, I'm not afraid to put him in the same breath as performers like Shawn Michaels, like Ric Flair, like Bret Hart that have come before him. He's that type of wrestler of this generation where it's like it's must-see TV every time he's on. And, like you mentioned, the mic skills were definitely something that was maybe not his strongest suit as he was coming up in TNA. I mean, he was the franchise out there, but he's proven more so, he's proven that he can handle himself in the land of WWE, where that's almost as important, if not more so, than what you can do in the ring. I mean, whether it be as a heel, as a face, and they've put him through the test, man. They've put him in there with their golden boy with Roman Reigns. They put him in there with the son of the company, Shane McMahon, in a high-level program leading into WrestleMania, and he is delivered in spades. It's to the point where they have the utmost confidence in him to carry the brand, which is SmackDown. And if you look at the year that he had, man, you bookend it. He started the year as WWE champ, he started the year as WWE champ, and he's ending the year as WWE champ. So I mean, what more else is there to say? I mean, numerous match of the year contenders, which we'll get to. AJ's the man, man. Without a doubt, to me, he was the obvious choice.
Yeah, and what's amazing about him, and I think you bringing up the champion in the beginning, champion, and he was the beginning as a heel, and he was so much more better as a heel in 2016 going into 2016 than I ever expect. I thought, man, AJ Styles is just too lovable. How can he be a heel? Like, I get he's been in TNA at points, and he was in that clique with, Ric Flair and all that stuff like that, and fine. But he's just such a, the small guy, that he's got like that Daniel Bryan kind of connection, or even like a Shawn Michaels. Smaller guys, they're easy to be, good guys because they're the underdog. And he was such a good heel. Him and Anderson and Gallows were great as the club. I mean, he was such a great crap talker. And then to come full circle as a face the majority of the year from WrestleMania and then become champion again. And another side of just how great he is that, I mean, he's had some tough losses this year. I mean, for a guy, I think I recently saw a stat that he was, he won more matches, won the highest amount of matches this year, but he's lost a lot of big ones. He lost to Cena at the Royal Rumble to start the year. I mean, he lost to Finn Balor on, what was it? It was TLC that had all these injuries because of the sickness. He lost to Brock Lesnar. I mean, these are clean losses. And it doesn't, he's the guy's completely bulletproof, which is for all the more impressive because, yes, a lot of the WWE fan base surely is diehards that have been around a long time and then watch other promotions, but there's a lot that don't know AJ Styles. So for him to be bulletproof already within, 2 years he's going on now, and this Royal Rumble coming up will be just making his second year. It's extremely impressive, and it doesn't hurt him. He's as over as popular as ever. I mean, I've gotten to the point, I've got frustrated enough with some of the things that WWE is doing that Raw is not priority for me. Like, I literally didn't watch this week's Raw till today. But SmackDown, I watched the next day. Like, I want to watch SmackDown because I want to see him as the champion. I want to see him as the man, and some of the other things they got going on. And I mean, SmackDown in general, split, I've been more favorable to for the most part, other than the Shield reunion, because he's on that brand and he's that good.
Yeah, and that speaks volumes, man. I mean, unfortunately, with the WWE product as it stands right now, I mean, we're fans and we're loyal and we're going to be there, but it's gotten to the point where we're looking for reasons to continue to watch. And AJ Styles is definitely one of those major reasons. Like you said, it is priority viewing. And having him as the champ makes you want to watch SmackDown. And, it's just a tighter show all around, but AJ's a really big part of that. And they like you said, he's delivered just everywhere that he's gone, man. He was the franchise for TNA for so long. He went, it didn't work out with TNA. He went over to New Japan, was the champ over there, which is very rare for a gaijin to get over the way that he got over.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to him coming to WWE, there were tons of questions of, his age, his size, his mic skills. Will he be able to deliver in WWE, or will he be like a forgotten cause? And he's one of their top tier talents right now, based on skill alone, because Vince is not watching videotape of his stuff in other companies. He's like, all right, what have you done for me lately? Prove it to me now. Let's see what you got. And in the span of, like you said, within 2 years, AJ has gotten himself to the upper echelon of that company to where they can trust him to be the top brand, the top of the brand. They could trust him in feuds with Cena, with Shane, with Kevin Owens, with whoever it may be. They know that they can count on AJ Styles to deliver. I mean, like you mentioned, the match with Finn Balor was supposed to be against Sister Abigail against Bray Wyatt. Thank God that didn't happen. But in a case of emergency, who can they call in to deliver something that the fans want to see, and they know that the fans will be happy with? AJ Styles. And what did they do? They delivered a phenomenal match. And even something like Money in the Bank, where they teased him and Nakamura having a matchup, which oh man, fans of New Japan have seen that before, know that is a money match, and everybody's hoping that maybe that's the direction they'll go into WrestleMania. So that little tease right there is just more reason to keep an eye on AJ Styles going into 2018. But as far as 2017, he was the man in WWE, no question.
Yeah, and I want to give a couple honorable mentions. One guy, and I was down on him for sure, and I think a lot of people were early in his career. He was so rough around the edges, and they finally found the groove for him, and he's really smoothed out his edges. And as much as I don't like him, he owes a lot to Roman Reigns this year, and that's Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman had a fantastic 2017. He really established himself as a main event level guy, and I'm not for pushing people always to the main event, but for his size and what he's doing and his vibe, he really is a legitimate main eventer. He's been great in 2017. One of my favorites, Alexa Bliss, has been a fantastic all year. SmackDown Women's Champion in the beginning of the year. Now the Raw Women's Champion at the end of the year. I mean, just so good. She's one of those examples in an era now where we're getting so many talented female wrestlers coming up that she's more of the flip side of that, and that she can wrestle. She's good. She's entertaining. She's not on the level of some of the other ones, but her mic work takes her to that star level, a la a Miz. She's almost she reminds me of like a female Miz, like good worker, knows what you're doing. You can pull with anybody, but the mic work takes it to another level. And also, this guy, I think a lot of people may not think of it because he's lost big matches or he hasn't been a main event, but he's been a lot of key storylines. Honestly, my favorite going on right now in SmackDown, and the dude was the champion to start the year and had my favorite other storyline the entire year, and that's Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho early this year was just fucking money, hilarious awesomeness, and he's kind of just always been near the top, be it Raw or SmackDown, in key things all year long. Like, he's been one of those guys that just, he is a key cog in the company, and he's been fantastic. He's just so reliable and so good.
Yeah, no argument with any one of those choices, man. And it's funny you bring up Kevin Owens. He definitely warrants a mention, especially because it seems that people have forgotten what a spectacular year he's had. I mean, he started the year as Universal Champ. He had carried it over from the previous year. And, it's funny, word has gotten out now that if it weren't for the fact that the Goldberg experiment took off like it did, the program between him and Jericho was supposed to be for the Universal title heading into WrestleMania. Oh, wow. And they were talking about Jericho getting one Universal title run before he hit the road, but plans changed and they ended up being with Goldberg and Brock instead, and they got off to the U.S. title, which was unfortunate. But yeah, Kevin Owens, Universal Champ. He took when he got traded over to SmackDown, when he did the new face of America, when he won the United States title,
yep.
that was such a great program, and him and AJ went back and forth, culminating in the match at SummerSlam, which was awesome. And, now, you mentioned the stuff with Jericho, and even now with Sami Zayn, of all people, who I cannot believe what a great heel Sami Zayn has been since he's turned. It's been spectacular. I never, he's another one with AJ where I never thought I would buy him as a heel, and I totally buy him. He's been awesome. But that program with him and Sammy against, Shane and Daniel Bryan, all that's going on, it's another focal point of SmackDown. And Kevin Owens, like you said, you can punch him into any program, and he just takes the ball and runs with it, man. So he's been absolutely spectacular. And no question, Alexa Bliss has the same bookends as AJ, man. She started off the year as champ over on the SmackDown brand, and she's ending the year the champ on Raw. Alexa Bliss has been, I think over-delivered to what people were expecting with her coming up from NXT. Because honestly, and then in NXT, she was not part of any major programs and didn't even hold the NXT Women's title. And here she is, maybe the most key female that they have. And Braun, I mean, that goes without saying, man. I had the same doubts that you had. I thought this is all another big man project that they're gonna fall in love with, but his work is gonna be terrible. Braun has stepped it up big time, both in character and in the ring. Every time he comes out, you hear the crowd pop, and that's well earned. He's definitely worked to get to where he's at, man. And Braun has had an awesome year. Definitely warrants a mention.
Now, moving on to the next one we want to talk about is going to be a tag team of the year. You're going to take it away. This is one of the few places we actually divide at this point. And who are your picks for WWE Tag Team of the Year for 2017?
My pick for Tag Team of the Year is a team that I was lukewarm on up until this year, and that's the Usos, man. I mean, that heel turn, you're talking about, some acts that need to turn either face or heel in order to go to that next level. The Usos were a prime example of that.
So overdue.
Oh, man, that face, it's so funny because I'm pretty sure that when WWE plugged them in when they were faces with Roman Reigns, they figured, all right, Roman's getting booed, we'll stick the Usos with him, and that'll get him some goodwill. What ended up happening is the Usos got booed along with him.
Guilty by association.
Seriously, man, and it made their act even more stale to the point where they were, the fans were starting to turn on them. So, all right, let's pull the trigger and make them heels, and they have taken the ball and run with it. And you could tell it's just because a lot more of their natural charisma, their natural, just the way they are, and not to say that they're bad guys, but their heel persona is a lot closer to who they are, off camera, and it shows. And they've been a lot more comfortable on the mic. Their promos are actually, have actually been, some of the best promos of the year. And their in-ring
the
work,
rap battle they had with the New Day, they honestly, if not for Xavier helping at the end, they clearly won that thing.
Yeah, for sure. They can say what they want, but yeah, the Usos, won the day on that one. And their in-ring work was never a problem. They've always been an awesome tag team, but now with the heel swagger to it too, and couple that with the feud with the New Day, they've just had spectacular matches throughout the year. Been tag team champs for a large majority of that on SmackDown. The Usos are my pick, man. I never thought I'd be picking the Usos as tag team of the year in any year. but I think they definitely earned it this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I've never been really big fans of them. I really got just they became so stale to me. But they're my honorable mentions pick. I mean, they really have, man. What's funny is that for all these stereotypical quote unquote hood gangster characters the WWE has tried to institute so many times over a year, with the worst case being Crime Time. This is the most like legit hood. Like, if you're a person that lives in the hood, inner city, whatever, just a kind of ghetto, they feel that vibe, and it doesn't feel fake, and that's what adds so much legitimacy to them. That makes them so good. And I'm annoyed. This is one of the reasons why what's got me frustrated about WWE. Some of the things they've done by turning them babyface again, I think was a terrible idea. They've been fantastic bad guys. I don't know what you're doing with that, but neither here nor there. They have been so good, so many good matches. I never doubted their work, but the finally dig their characters for once. It's like refreshing. It was like a just nice to see. Now my tag team is the Bar. I thought the Bar was just, I mean, like pretty much like Kevin Owens of a tag team, like just solid rock, and so many. They were really one of the key parts of Raw for most of the year. Like, either their storyline of them being thrown together as a tag team and being formed and working out and going from enemies to friends. Then, you know, when it hit WrestleMania, we all got to love the surprise of the Hardys showing up, but them, or really, you know, Enzo and Big Cass should have been tag champions. They should have won. So flipping them from that and going against the Hardys, and they have, like, and you know, talking with Charlene, my beautiful, lovely girlfriend, about this earlier. She made a great point that they did such a great job of making us love them. Because Sheamus was a guy I never liked. I mean, the fans, you know, you look stupid, but Cesaro they like, and that team became so lovable, so like people started to like Sheamus, and in the same calendar year, they've done such a fantastic job of legitimately making you hate them. Not like the cool team, like the Usos or whatever. Like, people are booing them because they're legitimate good bad guys, and you just want to see them get beat up, and they're just so talented. They have so many good, really fun matches over the years. Their stuff with Ambrose and Rollins has been great. I'm a little tired of it now, and the Jason Jordan stuff is just so ridiculous. I'm tired of seeing that feud. I like to see them move on, but they have been super solid. You know, as talented as it gets with a guy like Cesaro on that team. I love that they went from, you know, a butting heads kind of thrown together team to now, like, they wear the same gear. They have this unity. They're like a classic team. Just amazing. They fought they fought they fought the Usos, right?
Yeah, and they had a fantastic match. Yeah,
again, really, like, you know, they've been so reliable. I mean, they're in all the main stuff. They were a huge part of making the Shield reunion work so well, because they were playing excellent foils with the Miz. Just so much good stuff this year. I loved everything they're doing. I want to see them be a team for a lot longer. I don't want to see it broken up. I just been so damn good all year. One of the more enjoying things on Raw all year.
Yeah, and it's amazing that it's gotten to that point, man. Because when you say they were thrown together, they were literally thrown together. I mean, these were two single stars that were just thrown together because they really had nothing else for them. And we've seen that in the past, to where, you know, to varying degrees and of success. But, you know, to see this team actually become a legit team, because, you know, they went from, you know, what they started to actually, like you said, being a cohesive unit. They're a legit team now. You know, the Bar, they wear the same outfits. They've become a really exciting team to watch. It's really unparalleled if you think about teams in the past that haven't, like, even the Rock and Sock Connection. I mean, that was more of a comedy act more than anything, and, you know, of course, they worked well together. But the fact that, you know, like you said, these were contrasting personalities that came together and just said, you know what, let's put our differences aside and become an awesome team. And on top of that, like you said, you plug them into any situation. They're kind of like the utility players. You know, with the Miz needed backup. There's the Bar, and they formed a great clique, and they were really great together. They really were entertaining. And, you know, that you can count on them to have great matches, you know, like you said, against the Shield or against the Usos. You know, I mean, the Usos were my pick for Tag Team of the Year, but honestly, lots of love to the Bar, too, man. They really stepped it up. And these are two performers that, you know, have been pushed before. I mean, you know, Sheamus, former world champion. Cesaro should have been a former world champion if you ask the crowd. But, you know, them together as a team has actually worked out and has extended their stay here with the WWE.
And to add more weight to, you know, why they're so good this year, and they're like my pick for Tag Team of the Year, they were the team, I believe, that ended the New Day's reign, the longest reign in Tag Team Championship in history. They were the guys who ended that reign, which is impressive. That they clearly saw something in them, that maybe for once we didn't see as fans, and that they were a legitimate team. And I mean, it's been so enjoyable to watch. Moving on from that, we're going to talk about Feud of the Year. I'm going to go first. My Feud of the Year, I think it's been underappreciated just because one of the cogs of this feud is just love him, hate him, the new John Cena era, Roman Reigns. But Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman has been so good, so reliable a lot of this year. I mean, Braun Strowman does not become the star he is without Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns deserves so much credit for this because, be it you love him or hate him, you either want to see Braun Strowman get beat up or Braun Strowman beat up Roman Reigns. So, I mean, that helped build him to becoming this almost diehard's darling because he was the guy that was going to beat up Roman Reigns. He's the only guy that can get over Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns had a tough time with, and fans loved and enjoyed it. I think that's part of why fans are loving Samoa Joe right now, too, other than just Joe being awesome. But he's that threat to the guy that the company loves. So it was so good. So many vicious, physical, violent, hard-hitting matches. I mean, there was borderline murder attempted during their feud. People were thrown off of, loading docks while they were strapped to stretchers. I mean, crazy stuff. I mean,
ambulances were turned over literally.
Yeah, like insane, hard-hitting, violent feud that was really, really good, really entertaining. I mean, and as I see, you're in full agreement with me, which I wasn't sure you would be. I thought maybe I was, you might pick something else, but I mean, tell me why you also feel the same way about this being the best feud of the year.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Reigns is such a polarizing figure, but if we're being honest with each other, man, the most entertaining feud of the year, both in the ring and outside, was Strowman and Reigns for a lot of the reasons that you stated, man. Just the anarchy that was going on within their matches, man, and their encounters, the physicality of it all. Some of the great, the most memorable moments of the year, like Strowman, turning over the ambulance. Like you said, attempted homicide is apparently not an arrestable offense in the WWE, but that's totally fine, And Strowman has been a star on the rise for a long time now. Reigns is somebody that they've been trying to make over and over and over again. And when you put them together, you figured, all right, this is going to be something that the fans aren't going to get behind. But it was just so well done. And an important thing that put it over the top for me was that the quality of their encounters did not get lost in the ring.
Yeah.
The matches were just as good as their encounters. And that's a lot of people nag on Reigns for being this and that, but Reigns can be quality in the ring. He has done he doesn't put up stinkers very often. And Strowman, it's amazing how far he's come in the ring, man. He's really exciting to watch. Just, you take, their feud kind of bled over into the SummerSlam match. You take that fatal four-way, with him, with those two, Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar. That match was all over the place in the best sense. You know what I mean? It's like, they really delivered, just time and time again. And, what's the purpose of a feud if not to get both talents over and leave them off better than they were when they started? And this was definitely the case here. A lot of people got a bit of a newfound respect for Reigns.
Strowman. I did.
Yeah, for sure. I'm right there with you. And Strowman, any question marks about whether he could be a top guy had to go out the window after the feud, because he is just the type of person that now when he comes out, people want to see him. He gets the reaction that they're looking for. And it really solidified it with that feud, which is why I think we're in agreement that was the best feud of the year.
And for Roman Reigns, a guy who's now main evented WrestleMania a few years in a row or many times already, I mean, he could have, if you're going to be put in a position where you're winning all the time and you're going to be the main man, who's not going to take that up? But he seemed to have no problem with really many occasions getting the lesser, of those battles with Braun Strowman. Like, Braun Strowman beat him up and tore him up many times and looked the better of the two on many occasions, and that's why he deserves credit, and he is viewed as the heir apparent to John Cena in terms of being a divisive kind of character. And while he doesn't have the mic skills of John Cena, which few do, he does, as you perfectly mentioned, he really does deserve a lot more credit than he gets in the ring. He does have good matches. I mean, his matches with AJ were great. After a certain point, if you're having all these good matches with different people that are really entertaining, it's not just, you're getting lucky with good talent. You are probably part of that now. And John Cena deserves that credit too. It took him a while, but Roman Reigns is getting out a lot early. He's a part of really good entertaining matches because he is so physical. He puts it all out there, and he deserves a lot of credit. I mean, Now you have throw out your honorable mention for another feud of the year that you had listed.
Yeah, my honorable mention goes to the Usos and the New Day.
Mm.
We talked about it a little bit when I picked the Usos for the tag team of the year. I mean, the reason that this probably didn't go over as the Strowman Reigns feud was that I think it went on a little bit long. I mean, I forgot how many pay-per-views that they actually fought together and the titles got switched back and forth.
Yeah.
But this was a marquee feud on SmackDown for a long time. Where they actually needed it. I mean, the SmackDown brand was kind of in a state of flux with Mr. Jinder Mahal as champ, and that and the feud with Randy Orton, and while all kinds of Punjabi Princess matches were going on and stuff like that, on the undercard, you can count on the Usos and the New Day delivering a quality match, whether it be on the pre-show of SummerSlam, if you could believe that, on the pre-show, to actually being on the event, all the way up to Hell in a Cell, where I think they had the match of the night and the best Hell in a Cell match of the year. I mean, kudos to Kevin.
Oh man, I'll never forget this guy. I forgot which Uso brother was, but being stuck between kendo sticks in the cage in the corner. Oh, crazy.
Yeah, there was so many crazy visuals in that match, and you figured this was going to be the blow off to the feud, and it absolutely delivered, man. To the point where the on the SmackDown following that, they showed the signs of respect, and that kind of started the Usos' face turn, questionable face turn, I suppose. But the quality of matches was there, and it elevated both teams. I mean, the New Day, they're over as it gets, so they don't really need the elevation. But the Usos, on the other hand, this just really cemented that this character change was really well warranted. So that feud, I think, deserved an honorable mention.
Yeah, I mean, and what's crazy and it's so impressive and deserves a lot of praise is that this is the second go around with them and a feud. I mean, and it's completely flipped. I mean, the first time the Usos were the good guys, they established, they knew they were going really heel, really becoming that popular tag team that everybody loved because they were just so stupid and funny and evil. and it was great the first time, real fun, entertaining. And this time when it's flipped with the New Day were the beloved, funny, happy-go-lucky, established champions, and the Usos are making the switch to going heel. Just shows how well the chemistry between that group of 5 men really is. It's really magical. It's on the level of the Hardys and Edge and Christian and the Dudleys and those kind of things. It has that same kind of feel to it. I mean, my honorable mentions for feud of the year. One, though it was very short lived, I enjoyed every single moment of it, and that was Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe. I mean, it was great to see someone like Samoa Joe, new to the company, again, an indie darling, a die-hard darling. You weren't sure how he was gonna be perceived on the WWE main roster, even though he did great in NXT. To see him bully, choke out, catch Brock Lesnar unexpected, the whole stuff where he attacked Paul Heyman, just brilliant. You got to I think that really, in anyone who was unsure of Samoa Joe, really made him a made man for WWE, where he's getting these Joe chants now when he comes out, because he went up head to head, face to face with Brock Lesnar and wasn't even blinking, and it was completely believable, and it was so fun. I think they should have let him beat Brock. That would have been you would have set up.
Oh man. Years. I would have loved to have seen that, man. And that camera on camera confrontation that they had, that was my favorite of the year, man. Because Joe was so believable and so intense in those exchanges, man. And I love to see it. And you could just see him getting made during that feud. I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah, and it just so, I mean, it would, and then you didn't let Joe win it. It would have been a nice surprise, whatever. If he flips it back in a month or two, fine, whatever. But. And to the point where now we're getting Strowman in the main event, fine, but we're going to get a Royal Rumble that's going to have Brock Lesnar and Kane in it. It's 2018, and we're going to have Brock Lesnar and Kane in a main event for the world title. It's like, come on, bro. This was probably starting to get outdated 10 years ago. Like, now it just, well, whatever. I digress. There's a lot of issues I can grieve in a freaking WWE Festivus episode of stuff I don't get, but, and the other notable mention I wanted to give is my favorite storyline of the second half of the year, and the reason I watch SmackDown is the Shane McMahon, Kevin Owens stuff has been fantastic. It's been so fun. Him attacking Mr. McMahon was great. Their back and forth, their feud. The cage match was, the Hell in a Cell was really fun. Shane's a freaking glorified insano stuntman. And then now this feud has been so fun, it's started to spread outwards in that Sami Zayn gets involved, which has been, as you mentioned before, just golden, those two together. And I've been waiting for that. And I thought I would see it as them both being good guys. To see it together as friends, as bad guys, has been fantastic. And now they're getting Daniel Bryan into where this last pay-per-view with the double referees, while silly, was extremely entertaining, and to see how it played out. And then when you got the missed fall, and then the Shane held, not doing the 3 count, and Daniel Bryan's getting kind of physical, and the crowd's going, just drawing in that element of a possible Daniel Bryan return. That's been one of the more fun feuds I've really enjoyed. Again, keeping Kevin Owens, this guy in a main event kind of key fixture on SmackDown. Like, it's him and AJ. I know Randy Orton's there, and Shinsuke, they've diminished him a little bit. I know he's in main events, but him losing to Jinder did not do him any favors. It's really Kevin Owens and the AJ are the two really key singles guys with Charlotte on that brand. They're so important to SmackDown.
Yeah, no argument, man. Kevin Owens is, like you said, he's a plug and play. You can put him in any spot and he's going to deliver. Yeah. And, this feud with Shane has been super entertaining. He's definitely one of the cornerstones of SmackDown. And, honestly, with the year come, I'm hoping that they go with AJ and Shinsuke leading into WrestleMania. But at some point, Kevin Owens has to get involved in that world title scenario. Yep. He really does for the sake of the brand. I'd love to see a feud between him and Shinsuke, or him and AJ, a long-term feud with the title maybe changing back and forth. That'd be awesome to see. But yeah, as of right now, that feud with him and Shane is keeping him up at the top of the program, and rightfully so, because it's been super entertaining. And throwing Sami Zayn into the mix, as entertaining as he's been as the shit heel sidekick, it's been really good. It's been really fun to watch.
Now, moving on to, we're going to talk about favorite match of the year from WWE. I mean, this is always tough. It's always matches. I was trying to figure this out. I just went with what I could remember that I really stuck out in my brain, because there's just so much freaking content. That's great if you're a diehard, you have the time, but if you have a life, it's difficult. And if you're unhappy at times with the product, like I've been, sitting and watching an episode of Raw for 3 hours is tough, let alone trying to remember some of your favorite matches from something that's on 3 hours a week, every week, all year long.
Oh, man.
I mean, with that said, we're in agreement once again. Let them know what our actually unified favorite WWE match of 2017 was.
Yeah, once again on the same wavelength, man, but it's hard to argue with AJ Styles versus John Cena at the Royal Rumble, man. I mean, you talk about a title match should have that big fight feel, and this definitely had it. Now you just want them to deliver it in the match. What I found most interesting about this match is at a time where there's so many gimmicks, so much anarchy that makes a good match, and there's take nothing away from that. That's super entertaining. This match went on for about 25 minutes, give or take, and they never left the ring. I mean, this was just AJ and John Cena going toe-to-toe, best man wins, and they delivered in spades. I mean, people talk about, we're mentioning this as WWE Match of the Year. Out in New Japan, Okada and Kenny Omega had a trilogy of matches that people were calling, comparable to like Steamboat and Flair. I'm sorry, but AJ versus Cena, Royal Rumble, is my match of the year, period. Even above those Okada and Omega matches, man. They just delivered so well. It was one of my favorite title matches of the last few years. AJ was on the money, and Cena, like we mentioned, he's such a polarizing figure, but when it comes to big time matches, he can absolutely deliver, especially at this point in his career, where he's got the experience, and he's at the point. I don't want to say he doesn't care, but it's like he's a lot more loose. He has nothing to prove. All right, he's a made man, so he doesn't need to do anything above and beyond. But here he is with the best in the world, AJ Styles, and he's hanging with them, absolutely hanging with them. And on top of that, he walks away with his 16th world title, which ties him with the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, that match was absolutely phenomenal. It had, raves from all kinds of peers. Bubba Ray Dudley chiming in on Twitter saying, how spectacular it was. And a lot of other people agreed with that, man. And that match happened in January. Yeah. And here we are, at the end of the year, still talking about it as the best in the year. And, there wasn't a match, throughout the whole year. There was a lot of great matches throughout the rest of the year, but that match, nothing topped it.
Yeah, I mean, and it was just it was one of the best things in 2016 that had one little last bit to say for 2017 that was so memorable, because that was my favorite feud in 2016. I mean, just every single match was great. The let's beat up John Cena hashtag and all that stuff. It just was great all year. All their matches were gold. John Cena got the best of it. Well, no, not even got the best of it. I mean, he finally won one, considering AJ won the first two, which is great.
Right.
He comes off the long hiatus. It's frustrating. We have had this conversation many times. He comes off the hiatus, wins the title, and then ends up losing it anyway to the next month, which not too many people bother by, because it's a chance for Bray to have his one gleaming moment in the sun.
Can you believe that Bray Wyatt actually was world champ in 2017?
Yeah, stunning. Just amazing match. I mean, we got quite a few honorable mentions. And mention your first honorable mention for match of the year in WWE.
Mine, without question, was Tyler Bate versus Pete Dunne from NXT Takeover Chicago. I didn't know what to expect from this match because honestly, I didn't watch the UK title tournament.
Mhm.
I heard great things about it, but I actually never sat down and actually watched the thing. So this was actually my first real exposure to Bate and to Dunne, and my God, they blew my socks off, man. I mean, one of the best things that we look for in a match is for us to mark out, like we used to when we were kids. I was marking out throughout this whole match, man. Just maneuvers that they kept pulling out that I had never seen before. So many near falls, man. They could have counted 3 like a number of times before the fall came. And the fans are just going nuts. The Chicago crowd was giving it it's just due, and they were just electric. Just between the environment and the way these two delivered, man, it was like nothing I had seen before. And I'm a fan of these cats going forward, for pretty much for life, especially Pete Dunne. I mean, I went to an NXT show about a month or two ago, and he was actually a surprise there at the house show. So I actually got to see him up close and personal, man. And there's something to that dude that he just has he has the it factor, man. He has the crowd behind him, and he's awesome in the ring. And he's just that old school, just the knockdown, drag out heel that is just love to see that kind of personality, man. So these two really impressed me. I love that match.
I'm fascinated where they go with this, because it's like it's become this weird thing, like the United UK title, and it's just this wing that shows up, and there's the fence here, there's the fence there. You rarely see them. Like, at what point do they just kind of just bring it in to like the main roster, or bring it in, make it maybe a secondary NXT title or something? They gotta do something with these guys. Like, you gotta get more out of these guys. They gotta be on the show as entertaining as they are. I mean, they're gonna have a tough time anyway because they are smaller. But if you want to put them in the 205 Live, fine. I mean, that's probably going on tour soon. These guys both need to be on the brand. But my honorable mentions, one, I mean, this is gonna be an AJ-a-thon kind of, because AJ was already in the first match, but AJ versus Brock Lesnar. I really enjoy Survivor Series. I love the stakes of 2 champions. I love that Paul Heyman kind of shitted on Jinder as not worthy, and then when AJ got the belt and had him, it was like, oh man, AJ Styles, this is the guy that Brock kind of wanted. This is the kind of guy he wants to go against, the Western world. So that was fun. I mean, it may not be on all lists for a lot of people, but I really enjoyed the Elimination Chamber with the aforementioned Bray Wyatt win. That was a very fun fight. I mean, just look at the names in that: Cena, Styles, Wyatt, Ambrose, Miz, Corbin. I mean, if Corbin is your weakest guy, I mean, by a good amount, that's a damn good match, because Corbin's a nice, good talent. And a lot of people probably won't have it on the list, but I really enjoyed this match. I enjoyed the feud. It was one of my favorite feuds of 2016 into 2017 for its legendary vibe and mystical. It was just big because of the character development. It was so well played. I love the short, sweet, impactful, just violence of Brock and Goldberg at WrestleMania. Yeah. It was only 10 minutes, if that long. It was just hard hitting, fast, crazy, chaotic, and I really enjoyed that match a lot.
Yeah, and I think the entrances were longer than the actual match itself. But you're right, though. A match doesn't have to be epic length to be entertaining, and that was more than entertaining, man. You got Goldberg taking his first clean loss, maybe of his whole career.
Yeah.
On the biggest stage of them all, delivering at 50 years old, maybe, one of his better matches. And then you got Brock super motivated, man. So many matches, so many moments from that match, Brock kicking out of the jackhammer, Goldberg spearing him, through the barricade, the tens of suplexes that Brock would, and then to put him away with the F5. That was a super memorable match, man. They delivered on the big stage. And what, we don't want a 30-minute epic from Brock and Goldberg. We want something like this. Yeah. Yep. And they absolutely delivered. Totally agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see them play off of, not try to get a 30 minutes. That's why they kind of try to get 20 minutes out of my WrestleMania. What was it, 20? And it did not pay off because, of course, neither were interested. But, yeah, it was great to see them pull that off the right way. And WWE can really master things and do things perfectly sometimes. Yeah. But, in general, 2017 for all its frustrating things, like the likes of Charlotte and Bobby Roode being baby faces, which makes no sense to me at this point. But all the things going down, Jinder Mahal's title, and there were a lot of cool moments in 2017 with AJ and some of the stuff. But, we're going to transition away from wrestling talk, get into some movie talk, which is always enjoyable. We're going to go with our 3 favorite movies of 2017. Now, this is going to really be more of a showcase by Jose and throwing out some of his honorable mentions because he is the moviegoer extraordinaire of the pair of us. I just don't get to the movies as much as I would like. Now my top three for favorite movies are Spider-Man: Homecoming, for the Planet of the Apes, and Dunkirk. I mean, Spider-Man: Homecoming, I pretty much loved every single Marvel movie that came out this year, but really loved how they nailed Spider-Man, the high school vibe, the let's skip the whole biting of the spider thing. We're not going to show you origin. He's Spider-Man already. The Iron Man stuff. Keaton was a really entertaining as Vulture. I mean, Tom Hardy is just a genius. He's my favorite Spider-Man already in just 1.5 films, or one and almost a quarter film. War for the Planet of the Apes, I love the entire series. I mean, every movie was really good. It got better as it went along. There are parts of this movie where it really pulled on the heartstrings, a tear in the eye. I mean, there were moments, great moments. I mean, and what they do with the computer generated work and making these actors look like apes, and with the movements and making it all seem so seamless. Also, honestly, when is Woody Harrelson not good or in a good movie? I mean, he was in this. He's the villain. He was great, as always expected. Andy Serkis is one of the most underrated actors out there. He doesn't get enough credit. He's part of another reason why I'm excited for Black Panther, because Black Panther's going to be sick, and just to see him get like a regular acting role, which is so good. And I finally got to see Dunkirk last week. I loved it. I mean, the fact it's just pure magic what Christopher Nolan can do, and him writing this movie and taking these three separate storylines and threading them. It almost kind of like the thing where like a detective has like a board of a case and you have the red strings that lead to one thing. It's just one of those kind of situations where everything seamlessly runs into each other at one final moment and all connects. I mean, just expert Spielberg, next generation level stuff. And I mean, I'll get to my honorable mentions after, but those are my three favorite movies of 2017. Now yours?
Well, mine, when it came down to picking three, two of them were absolute locks. But when it came to that third spot, that was definitely, a difficult choice. It was kind of the Sophie's choice of movies here. Because 2017 was a surprisingly strong year for movies, man. But I ended up giving that third slot to Blade Runner 2049, man. The long anticipated
I want
sequel.
to see and still haven't yet. I'm dying for it to be rentable. That and I'm dying for them to be on rentable. Come on, rent it. Let's go. I want to see these movies already, people.
Come on, studios. I know you're out there listening, man. It's time to get on the horse and get this out here. But I can tell you for a fact, you're not going to be disappointed with each. At least I'm hoping you're not disappointed with either one of those. I love both of those movies, but the other two that were locks were Coco and Get Out.
Coco, I have a bit of a beef with Coco because I feel like Coco is Disney kind of copying what Guillermo del Toro did like 2 years ago with his own, Day of the Dead movie. I forget what the title is. And I mean, so I feel I'm sure Pixar, Disney did great, but I have a beef with them kind of just taking a concept of a movie that wasn't big enough and got enough interest, and because their Pixar gets more interest, and it's like, I mean, if it's good, I can't hate on it.
It's a fair argument, but I mean, I guess in Disney's defense, apparently this is a project that had been a long time in the making. Okay. So I guess it was in development, even I guess as the Guillermo del Toro project was. Yeah. And the other defense is that it's freaking awesome. I mean, it really is. I think it's safe to say that Pixar is one of those studios that, we've seen what they've done in the past. When Pixar is on their game, no one's better. I mean, you look at movies like Up, like WALL-E, like the Toy Story series, just Finding Nemo, just countless movies that are so. Zootopia was. Yeah, I forgot if that was Pixar or Disney, but yeah, I mean,
that's right, it's Disney Animation. I forgot, yeah. Right?
It's those two things blur together so much now, especially now that Disney owns Pixar. So it's really like it's all going into the same pocket, which we'll get to in a little bit with our other story. But but Coco was such a well done movie, man. But this is Pixar, top level Pixar stuff. And it of course it has the humor. It has such vibrant characters, and the production design. I mean, there's so many breathtaking scenes when they actually reveal the land of the dead. It's an awesome sight, and just the little details and everything leading up to the final act, which I gotta admit, just like you said with War of the Planet of the Apes, might have gotten a little dusty in the theater there, but it was really good stuff, man. I recommend Coco not just to kids, man, but to people of all ages. It's a really well told story. Blade Runner 2049 has been about 30 something years in the making. Yep. and it delivered, man. I mean, it breaks my heart to see that it didn't perform up to the standards in terms of box office. It just didn't find the audience that everybody hoped that it would. But man, for anybody that was waiting this long to find out the next chapter of Deckard and the replicants, man, this delivered in spades. I mean, without getting into too much detail, I know you haven't seen it and you want to catch up with it, but just the visual style of this movie, man. The director Denis Villeneuve, who has been on a tear, man. I don't know if you saw Arrival a couple of years ago, man, but that was it is a great science fiction movie, and him taking a very beloved property like Blade Runner, which has been kind of just you talk about the godfathers of the sci-fi genre. Blade Runner is right up there. Yeah. You can see movies like Dark City and The Fifth Element and even The Matrix that came after it, man. The visual style, they got that from Blade Runner, which set the foundation. And here it is, Blade Runner 2049, continuing on with that in a really well-told story. I mean, the movie, there's a lot going on here, and Ryan Gosling, does his job leading up to going out there and finding Harrison Ford. And Harrison Ford has been on a roll lately, man. I mean, you talk about his role in The Force Awakens and what he did with Han Solo, man. Here he is showing up as Rick Deckard, man, and it's just so good to see him just go back into those old shoes. It's almost like he had a bank account and he was just saving up for retirement, and here he is just cashing in. He knew that he could come back to these characters and just have a renaissance, and that's exactly what he's been doing, man. But it was just such a great movie. And my tops of the year, I have to go with Get Out. I mean, the trailer for this movie, when I first saw it, I thought this was going to be another one of those hokey horror flicks that come out in the beginning of the year. All the studios just kind of dump them out there to make some money. I had never been happier to be proven wrong than I was with this movie, man. I mean, this movie has so much to say about what's going on now, unfortunately, with everything that's going on with the racial tension and, appropriation and everything like that. This movie is absolutely brilliant because it has a little something for everybody, man. It has the humor, it has the horror, it has the drama. It's just, there's so many great performances in that movie, and just, it's a movie that you're going to it expecting one thing, and then it just delivers another. All right, I think I'm with the movie now, and then it just twists again to where by the end of it, you've been taken on such a wild ride that you got to admire what they took you on, man. And just the fact that this came from the mind of Jordan Peele from Key and Peele fame, I don't think anybody knew that he had this in him, man. But this is a voice that's going to have to be heard for the foreseeable future, man. Like it was just the tops of the year for me, man. And I'm glad that not all the awards talk that's going on right now that always happens at the end of the year. The fact that Get Out is still being remembered, even though it came out back in February for the lead performance and for Best Picture and for screenplay, it's really heartening to see because it really deserves it, man. And that's not something that really doesn't really happen with horror movies. So that's something that's a testament to how good this movie really was.
I enjoyed Get Out. I didn't like it as much as a lot of people.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't. I'm not saying it's bad. It was a good movie. I guess the hype got so big for it. I wasn't, But actually, in terms of like kind of sci-fi, not sci-fi, like horror thrillers, the movie I liked more, and it's unfortunate. I don't know if it's gonna get any awards buzz because it came out. I think it came out in January. Is one of my honorable mentions, which was Split. I mean, I am a sucker for amazing performances, and I there was good stuff in Get Out for sure, no doubt about it. But it was such a big ensemble. Like some of the key characters were some of the best performances were from the supporting actors.
Right.
But James McAvoy in Split is just amazing. I mean, I've always been a fan of his. He's always been a really good actor, but this is one that it takes the cake. I mean, this is a career memorable performance. I mean, he was so good playing this man with the split personalities, the reveal of the beast at the end, then the bigger reveal of the connections to Unbreakable and stuff like that. Oh, man. I mean, it's just...
I flipped.
Yeah, and then setting this, that it's going to be the sequel that I think it's filming now. I mean, it's just... It was such a, I had given up on M&I. Like, damn, his best days are behind him. He ain't got nothing left. But he finally came out with a good one for the first time in a long time, and he delivered. It was just such a good movie. So interesting. Also, along with that, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I loved it. I mean, I thought it was fantastic. That one pulled on the heartstrings a little bit because it was much more of an emotional movie than the first one in terms of the family ties. Gamora and her sister, Star-Lord and his father, the friendship between Rocket. The whole moment where Rocket gets on the ship and he had left Quill and they were asking why you left him. Like, I'm not gonna have another friend die. All this great emotional stuff. I mean, Baby Groot is. How do you even for the toughest guy in the world? You're like, oh, Baby Groot, so cute. He's amazing. The whole scene where Yondu and Rocket are trying to tell him to go get the new fin. You know, he keeps coming back with all this other stuff. Just funny. Then taking funny to a whole nother level is Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok took, I mean, it just flipped everything on its head. This is what's great about Marvel. It's not like the same kind of movie. Yeah, it's the same kind of vibe in terms of, well, it's the same kind of similar recipe. Funny, good action, fun story, bam. You know, that, and it works. It's been working for forever in movies. And but what Marvel does is they add new spices and new flavors and new ingredients every time on this recipe. And this was just the spiciest. They would drop jalapenos up in this like a lot. And it was just so left field, so offbeat, hilarious. Every moment with Talking Hulk is just pure joy. It's just so good. The back and forth banter between him and Thor is great. Just really fun. I'm dying for it to come out on Blu-ray so I can watch it again.
And the spiciest part of that movie had to be Jeff Goldblum being Jeff Goldblum turned up to 11, man.
He just plays himself, and it's more than enough. I mean, Loki was great, and Loki's gotten, Tom Hiddleston's gotten to a point. He's been in so many of these, like, all right, we're kind of getting tired. We'd never get tired of him. He's so enjoyable every time. I don't want him to go anywhere. You know, just how it ends. You know, what happens, the scenes with them and Anthony Hopkins and as Odin's real good stuff. I mean, Taika Waititi, even though Charlene didn't like Taika doing the voice of Gorg, I loved it.
Oh, that was hilarious, man.
That was so good. You know, you want to ride Brute, you know, all that stuff was good. Another one, a little side movie that maybe it kind of really got lost in the shuffle because so many movies come out. And I just found it by chance on Amazon. And me and Charlene watched it, and we really enjoyed it. And I love Chris Evans. Whatever he's kind of in, I will be willing to watch it. He made a movie this year called Gifted, which is very interesting as he plays an uncle who's now the caretaker of his niece, who, you know, his sister was the mother. She died. The father's not, you know, not in the picture. And this girl is probably like 9 years old, 10 years old, maybe 8 or 9, and she's like a genius. Like, she has a high IQ understanding. She can do high level math, and it's this debate of what do you do with her? Do you try to let her enjoy a life as a kid, or do you try to push her to become this super genius and push her towards learning and all these other things, and maybe she loses her childhood in a way? And it's a very interesting movie. I think his ex-girlfriend is one of the characters in it too. A lot of good actors, really good, touching movie. I mean, me and her at the end, there's a scene that really, it got me. I got water. I got more watery than Thor the Browning Eggs on that one. And Chris Evans, bro, you got me, dog. And the last one, and speaking of last, I mean, it may be the last time we ever see this guy play this, and that was Logan. I mean, Logan delivered on every level. I mean, it was another one that got late with the end of the movie.
We're such sensitive dudes, man. Let it be said here on the podcast, man. We too feel these emotions.
Yeah, I mean, and it was good. I mean, the back and forth between him and the young girl, you know, who will be revealed as Laura, is X-23. I mean, it's so good. Patrick Stewart cursing, and his performance was great. I forgot the guy that played the bad guy, but he was great. I mean, he made you hate him. You wanted him to get killed and beat up or whatever. Like, he was so good. I mean, Hugh Jackman just finally getting a Logan movie that just nailed it on so many levels. Yeah, it wasn't old man Logan like we know it. There weren't any inbred Hulks. There wasn't a blind Hawkeye. All these great elements from the comic. Yeah, disappointing, I know. But still, they took some of the source material and added, you know, did a little something different. And it was just all around great. I think this is, other than, I mean, you know what, I'll say it. This was a great year for comic movies because we still have Wonder Woman, which was very good and real fun. I mean, and all for Justice League wasn't well received, but it still got better reviews than, you know, other movies like Suicide Squad. And so it was, that being the wackest of the movies, of the comic book movies this year, I think it was a damn good year for comic movies.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I'll go to bat for Justice League, and you
go to bat for the worst movies. Put your bat down. Go to the bench. Stop going to bat for this, please. Stop.
Somebody has to, for God's sakes. I mean, you know, DC finally delivered a half-botchable film, and it needs to. Well, let me take that back because Wonder Woman is an honorable mention for me, and it was a spectacular, really movie. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that and Spider-Man: Homecoming were probably my tops of the year for me in terms of comic book movies, man. But Justice League was totally decent, totally watchable. I'm sure you'll see it in a couple of months and totally shit on my opinion about it, but it's fine. It's totally fine.
I'm planning to put a soliloquy together of just shitting all over why you're going to bat. Put your bat down. Put it down,
hey,
please.
Listen, man. It's in the on deck circle. It always will be there. But...
It's like the on deck circle has like a DC logo on it. Like, what the hell is going on?
No, I can't even explain it.
Defending these movies, please. You didn't like Suicide Squad, right?
It was all right.
Oh,
it was all right. It was better than Batman vs Superman, which I will fully.
What? No way!
I honestly, God, I will totally say that. I would rather put on Suicide Squad than I would Batman vs Superman.
Suicide Squad's a hot mess, man. It's like a music video. It's like watching The Box while reading a comic book. Like, come on, just music every 5 minutes.
But you know what, that gets really old really quick. I mean, just. Oof.
Everybody has like an entrance. Every moment has a musical intro. Like, what the God?
That was them running out of ideas and saying, you know what? Let's just throw this at the wall and see if it sticks in our 2-act movie, because apparently it was missing a middle act. It was just a beginning and an end.
The villains were terrible. I mean, like the CG for the villains. What was going on? This was a big box office movie, man. Oh my God.
But you know what? At least I can rewatch that without cringing as hard as I do with Batman v Superman. I cannot and this is a movie that I actually defended, as you know. Yeah. I actually defended a little when it came out, but in hindsight, I cannot. Oh my God, that Martha scene is really as cringeworthy as its reputation has said, man.
But it's still not. There's enough redeeming Batman moments, like when he rescues Martha. The fight scene, as over the top it is great. You know, it's very action packed. It's fun. I mean, some of the acting and some of the corny ass lines of Suicide Squad are just like that Joker. I don't know. Harley Quinn, like, just being completely sexualized, which is unfortunate. I know women out there that like the character, love the movie, liked her, but for this character, just the opposite of Wonder Woman. I get that she's like a sexy kind of character, but a character that's in a bodysuit in a comic, just completely sexualizing her and putting her in heels. Like, really? Like, come on, she's a good-looking woman no matter what. Like, it just like, God damn. It's just, there's no characters that are worth caring about. There's no investment. I just want everybody to get bumped off in that movie. It just,
You know what? But no, there was. Unlike Batman v Superman, there were some characters that I actually did enjoy watching. Like, I thought Diablo was a standout. I thought he was really well done. And his character arc, when it got to the end, I thought it was really cool. I didn't hate Will Smith as Deadshot. I thought he was really good. I mean, it was one liner too many, as typical Will Smith movies.
Because he's playing Will Smith. He's like Jeff Goldblum. He just plays Will Smith. I've seen Will Smith for the last 15 years. I'm done.
But by the way, did you know that? But I will say this about the movie. By the way, did you know that Deadshot has a daughter that he loves? Because he totally has a daughter that he loves.
No
in case
way.
You didn't know,
no.
Yeah, he loves his daughter. He absolutely loves his daughter.
No way.
No. In case you missed it, he has a daughter and he loves her very much. In case I wasn't hammering home before, it was hammering home.
Killer.
Yep, it was hammering home almost as much as Harley being crazy. Because in case you didn't know, Harley is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you didn't know she does these things. She's just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But I mean, so. To summarize, Justice League was better than those. So, I like how we got on that train and just kept right on riding. But yeah, and I mean, in terms of some honorable mentions for me, yeah, Wonder Woman, as I mentioned, was really a really well done movie, and you could really tell. I will say this about Justice League, man, you could really tell the difference between the male gaze and the female director doing it, because some shots in Justice League were really questionable. I mean, this is Zack Snyder we're talking about, but with Patty Jenkins' touch, man, Wonder Woman was treated with such respect and such revere for that character. It was really a phenomenal movie. I'm with you on Thor Ragnarok and Logan. Those were great comic book movies. I wasn't as high on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I guess I was just expecting too much from it, but Split was absolutely awesome. When you get around to seeing that, that's a good one, man. And the fact that it delivered so hard on the box office, I didn't know that there was such a
seeing horror movie of all time now. Second in R-rated movies.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, man. But really well warranted, man. It was really well done, and I can't wait to see part 2 in a couple of years when with the adults and who they cast and where they go with that. Another honorable mention is one that just recently came out. I gotta mention it, man. It's maybe the most divisive movie of the year, and that's Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
I know. I can't believe. We're gonna go see it tomorrow. I'm excited. I'm disappointed didn't get to see it in a way, so I can see if I can add it to this list. But yeah, I'm stunned on looking on social media how divisive it is. So many people don't like it. I've seen the reviews being very strong from critics, and I saw one headline saying it's the most intellectual of the Star Wars movies, which I thought was interesting. But yes, so many people against it. I'm really surprised by that.
I'm gonna go on record right now saying fanboys need to shut the hell up about it. They really do, because so much bitching about Force Awakens being Episode 4 done over again. We need something different. Well, guess what? Last Jedi is different, and you're still bitching about it. So you know what? You really need to shut the hell up about it. And I mean, I forgot who went on record saying, I miss the days when people were fans of things that they actually liked. Yeah. And this is one of those cases, man, where people just love to bitch. Oh my God, I can't with that. But I thought The Last Jedi was really well done. Lots of interesting things going on. Obviously, I won't talk about it in detail. Let you judge for yourself.
One of the fighters I'm somewhat friendly with from UFC, and he actually answers my text messages. He ruined it. He went on social media and ruined the ending. So I know one of the big deaths. But I mean, where would you put it in of the what's it now 8 movies, and throw in Rogue One? Where would you put it for you? And what's your top? Does it make your top 3 of the Star Wars movies?
My top 3, it probably doesn't, because I got Episode 4 and 5 up top. And I would probably put either Force Awakens or Rogue One, maybe a little above Last Jedi. So it's right in the middle. I like it better than any of the prequels. And in terms of, comparing it to Force Awakens, I might take Last Jedi over Force Awakens, just because it's a lot more interesting and kind of moves the characters in some unexpected directions. Yeah. It's right there with Force Awakens. Yeah. I'll probably put it 4th.
I mean, we were going to move on to conversation on Disney and Fox. I want to do that, but I want to do that last. I want to end the show on a happy note. First, let's get to I want to end the show on notable deaths. We have some notable deaths. Do you have the list in front of you? You can run down some of these notable passing aways we've had this year.
Yeah, I do, man. And there was some really big names, man. I mean, we can start with the movie world and some actors that left us, man. We got John Hurt, legendary actor from The Elephant Man, and tons of other stuff.
Alien 1, right?
He was there.
Okay.
Yep, he's the dude that.
Him and William Hurt confused sometimes.
And it's an easy mix up with. I mean, Hurt. Come on now, that's a pounding last name. But yeah, John Hurt. Yeah, he was the victim of the famous chest buster in Alien 1. Yeah. And even his older years, did a lot of great work. I mean, in the god awful Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, he was one of the more enjoyable parts of that. He was pretty funny in that. Also, a very, in my opinion, underrated and underseen film, The Skeleton Key, from a couple of years ago. I thought
I saw that. Yeah, it sounds familiar. I mean, another one is to throw out there. He was great Hellboy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I forgot all about that. And he was great as Hellboy's mentor, man. And that's another one where you really fell for his character. Sir Roger Moore, one of the James Bonds, of course. We lost him. I didn't even realize he was actually older than Connery, man. So that was
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, especially since it came on after Connery, but yeah, shaken not stirred. You think about the prototypical James Bond. I mean, obviously there's Roger Moore and there's Sean Connery and Daniel Craig, but Roger Moore was definitely a charming Bond. And then one that really hit hard was Bill Paxton, man.
Yeah, oh my God.
It's so unexpected too, man. I always enjoyed his work, man. Worked a lot with James Cameron and Aliens, of course. Game over, man. Game over. And
I loved him in Weird Science as a douchebag older brother. He was fantastic.
Oh, he was so good at that, man. Such a shit heel, but yeah, and his other work with Cameron, like in True Lies, as the real slimy car salesman. It was so great. And even in Titanic, man, one of the biggest movies of all time, he's played a good part. Like, guy that kind of sets the whole thing into motion. But yeah, now Bill Paxton will definitely be missed.
I know you don't watch the show, but he was in season 2, I think, or was it season 3? Maybe it's 2 into 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And he was great.
Really,
he was a part of that part of the show where it was really connected to Captain America: Winter Soldier. He was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent that was Hydra.
Oh
and
man,
he was like a top guy in Hydra, and one of the key characters of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agent Ward, who was like, kind of digging the main female character. They were looking like they were gonna get together. He gets revealed as being Hydra too, and that was his mentor. And he was very good, and he was good enough as a bad guy that it took Nick Fury coming back for a guest spot to kill him.
Oh man, that's crazy, man. I've been missing. Of course, you can rub this in my face, but I've been missing out by not watching these shows, man. I didn't
Agent
even
of
know Bill
Shield
Paxton was
is
on there.
so good. I mean, they're doing some real good stuff right now. They're doing some going to the future and outer space stuff, and it just shows like how she ages. Shield is like that. Shield is just everywhere. You know, they're in space, they're in the future, in the past. Like it's stretching its legs like Shield does it. That's been a really really good one. But yeah, you guys can continue on to the directors who've passed this year.
Yeah, some big time directors that passed away, and a lot of them just had ties to the horror world, man. We start with Jonathan Demme, director
What
of
did he do? Yeah,
Silence
tell
of the
me what he
Lambs.
did.
He did Silence of the Lambs, and he did
Oh,
Philadelphia. He
wow! I knew his name, but I couldn't picture any of the movies he did. Wow, man, that's a
yeah,
good one.
yeah. I mean, just right off the bat, Silence of the Lambs, man. You want
Yeah.
to talk about some high quality directing, but yeah, we lost Jonathan Demme, Toby Hooper, of course, the
Yep.
director of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, man, one of the godfathers of horror, and you got to mention George A. Romero, man. The
The
modern
biggest Walking Dead hater of them all. I
that's
hate that show and
amazing
series.
to me. Oh my God! But there wouldn't be a Walking Dead without George A.
Exactly.
Romero and Night of the Living Dead, which
Yep.
totally holds up. By the way, the 1968 version of Night of the Living Dead. Go back and rewatch that if you haven't watched it in a while, man. It totally holds up today and still packs a wallop.
And it's nuts
Um,
too because this is the '60s and it's with the African American lead, which was
yeah,
fucking heard of at that time.
absolutely progressive, man. And just the tone and the violence of that film was not like anything that was allowed.
Hmm.
Then it kind of was a segue into the 70s where things got really heavy with like The Exorcist and The Omen and movies like that. And of course, his Dead series, with the Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead continued. So yeah, definitely a big loss with George A. Romero. In the music world, oh God, I mean,
Ah, terrible
I think
year music losses. Oh, the worst.
you ain't you ain't lying, man. Because I mean, 2016 had some big losses with Bowie and Prince, but those were debts that we're still feeling today. But for the fact that Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington took their own lives,
Knew
they
each
were in
other
their
too.
seriously, yeah. And
Yeah.
they're saying that Bennington's suicide may have been connected to Chris Cornell because I mean he was such good friends with him, and he actually
Hmm.
it was on his birthday when he did it, but. These were two dudes that were in their prime, man. Chris Cornell he was on tour with Soundgarden, something that people had been wanting to see for a long time, then reunited. And that very night after a show in Detroit, I think it was, he took his own life. And then Chester Bennington, man, 41 years old, lead singer of Linkin Park, the voice for so many
Yeah,
growing
that
up
was
in
my
this
high school
generation.
years, man. Them. Jeez.
Absolutely, man. But it was just such a tragedy to see those two lives taken. And
Oh,
another
the
one that we lost
worst. The
we're seeing
worst of them
was
all.
Mr. Tom Petty,
Oh.
man. You want to talk about legends, giants in the music business, man. Tom Petty, decades of so many great hits, man. Don't Come Around Here No More, Mary Jane's Last Dance, Refugee,
Uh,
American Girl. Just go. The list goes on and on and on, man. And it just by a lot of accounts, one of the nicest guys in the business too, man. So many people loved him, adored him. Stevie Nicks credits him with helping her keep it together for so many years. It's just by all accounts a great guy, great musician, man. So many great tunes, and it was just such a great loss in the same vein of like a Bowie and like a Prince that we had in the last few years. And then with the sports world, man, we lost, some people that, lived a long and fruitful life, like, the Raging Bull, Jake LaMotta.
yeah.
Dude was
How old? He was like
95.
near 90 or something like that, right?
He was like 95, I think it was, when he went, man.
Wow.
And still, as ornery as ever, man. Apparently, he was checked into the hospital and kept checking himself right out, man, just unplugging machines
And it
and
just shows you
whatnot.
how
So,
different people are, considering how many wars that man was in a different kind of era where they had like what I don't know, 20 rounds and something like that. All, crazy amount of rounds. Wars, the padding and the gloves is way different. Like, just some people are just built completely different. Just
yeah.
how he lived that long. I just never know. It's like the person like, oh yeah, I eat steak and cigarettes. I have cigarettes every day and a bottle of gin, and they live till like 85. But someone
You ain't
who's
lying.
completely clean and takes care of themselves, they're done by like 67. It's crazy.
Yeah, there really is no formula for that, man. And Lamar was definitely proof of that. Dude was a fighter to the end, man. And in the basketball world, we lost the Hawk Connie Hawkins, man. He was a legend in the ABA, and then got to play in the NBA. So he was a big time name in basketball that we lost. And then one super unexpected, man. They actually have not too far from here over there in St. Pete in the Gulf was Roy Halladay, man. Recently retired, a future Hall of Famer without question. The only other no hitter in postseason history besides Don Larson's perfect game, and just a fantastic pitcher in his career, man. And just such a sudden, unexpected death, man. It was crazy. On the same vein of Jose Fernandez, just a freak accident that took his life.
Yep.
Just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, rest in peace to all of them. I mean, now let's try to end the show on a positive note. Now, one of the bigger news stories, maybe about I think it was like 3 weeks ago now, and it was something that was rumored even I think in late October into November, was Fox selling some of their assets and possibly to Disney. I mean, then the talks died down, and then there was talk maybe Comcast getting involved. There was rumors even Sony might be involved, since it seemed like these assets were on the block, and the assets included the Fox 21st Century Fox movie studio, which is 20th Century Fox. 21st Century is the parent company. That will be on the block. National Geographic, FX, a lot of their new TV stuff. And, a lot of their stuff that's a lot of part of the deal is international elements and all this stuff. So, I mean, eventually the deal gets done with Disney. Disney has bought all these Fox assets, which is mostly the movie stuff and TV stuff. They're not getting Fox, the main Fox network. They're not getting FS1, FS2. They're getting a lot of Fox local stuff and regional stuff, which is big supposedly for ESPN, which is owned by Disney, and ESPN's not doing well. They've had a bunch of layoffs. Their numbers aren't what they once were, because let's be real, ESPN isn't as cool as it used to be. It's kind of played out.
That's the truth.
I mean, so they, them having some regional channels and networks is going to be big for them. I mean, but for us, I mean, there's still a lot to go here, because this deal is done. I think it was $52.4 billion they bought these assets for, but there's still some things that could happen. I mean, there are issues that the people have concerns about antitrust. There are already senators that have already said that they would like committees to look at this closer for possible antitrust, because you're taking away one of the biggest movie studios in the world, 20th Century Fox, and it's getting eaten by Disney and merged by Disney. I mean, maybe Disney keeps it open as its own thing, but it's still owned by the same company. So you're going from, I think, 6 major movie studios or 5 to down to either 5 or 4, which is a big deal. You wonder about the consumer, you wonder about the employees. I mean, that said, let's assume everything works out and goes through fine, and maybe in a year to 18 months it's a final thing. And that's what this conversation has to keep in mind. For all the things, the good we're going to talk about, it still may be, it may not be finalized to okay to even start working on these things for a year to 18 months from now. But, I mean, the possibilities of Fox, which owns X-Men, Fantastic Four, all these universes being merged finally with the Marvel universe and cinema and all this stuff. I mean, I just had like a long-winded context opening. I'll get to my parts shortly, but I mean, your opening thoughts on this mega deal and what it could mean for fans of movies and the comic book movies.
Yeah, I mean, for fans, like you said, of comic book movies that have been waiting a long time to get X-Men and Fantastic Four involved in the Marvel Universe, your day has come, man. I mean, this is big-time news. We were always talking about, Marvel can just buy the rights back. No, they went ahead and, Disney just went ahead and bought the company. That's fine.
Yeah,
but
and I never thought it would happen. I didn't think this would happen, that it would even be for sale, which is crazy.
Yeah, you talk about, historic movie companies, man, throughout history. 20th Century Fox is one of the cornerstones of Hollywood, has been for years, man, right up there with Universal and Paramount and all these companies, man.
Just think about those people. I mean, Jose is going to continue, but Disney now owns Alien. I think it owns Predator. It owns Avatar. These things are now under the Disney umbrella now, which is nuts.
It's crazy.
Kingdom Hearts fans are going over their head.
Oh, absolutely they are, man. They're like, what levels can we get now, man? Can we get an Avatar world? Can we get all kinds of stuff going on? And just for fans of theme parks, man, it's still kind of a little cringeworthy to see a Marvel world as part of Universal Studios. It's like, oh God, Universal, passing that check over to Disney. But I digress. Yeah. This is a pretty big deal, and exciting for fans of those franchises. But like you said, there is a kind of a dark side and a deeper side to this deal. Like you said, Disney in recent years, think about what they've purchased, man. They've purchased Marvel at a time when Marvel was super valuable. This isn't mid-90s, near bankruptcy. DC, help us out, please, Marvel. This is, absolute powerhouse Marvel Studios. They bought Lucasfilm. Yeah. Come on, they bought Star Wars. That's a big, big deal. And here they are buying, just 20th Century Fox and a lot of its assets. Like you said, it's amazing to think that this is all under one umbrella. Now, Disney, to their credit, this is something to keep in mind as well. For people that are worrying about, Disney Disneyfying everything, with those two purchases of Marvel and Lucasfilm, for the most part, they've been pretty hands-off and let things kind of be. Because, they're being smart about it to where it's like, all right, the thing is working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. they're not going to meddle with it and prove the doubters right and say, oh, see, Disney's already messing it up. No, they let Marvel do their thing, and they're just, taking their cut, which is super smart if you're a business, because Marvel at this point is just a license to print their own money, which is something that Star Wars has been for decades now, and they're both under the Disney umbrella. So this is just another case of Disney, taking the company, making it an asset, something that The Simpsons predicted about 18 years ago, by the way, in one of their episodes, which is hilarious.
Those gifs and memes.
Oh, that's hilarious, man. They never fail. They never fail. The Simpsons is like the guru. But no, this is a pretty big deal. And like you said, for like I think you said what, 52 billion.
52. And I also want to add too, if anyone, excuse me, wants to know why this is happening, there's no other place you can look for blame, or not blame, but reason why there's this consolidation movement in the entertainment business. It's Netflix. Netflix has completely changed the game. That movie studios and corporations in entertainment are scared of what Netflix has going. And because of the success of Netflix and their strategy, their entertainment, their business strategy of online and all these kind of things and subscriptions, and the fact that they're putting themselves in debt by investing billions with plans. I forgot the number. I think it's supposed to be like they're going to invest another 20 billion in original content in the next couple of years, whatever. There's a lot of money going to. So these companies feel they need to buy more assets, because if you haven't heard, the plan is for Disney, they're going to have their own streaming service. It could end up being Hulu, because Hulu is a part of what they purchased. Maybe they just turn Hulu into Disney Hulu or something, or they just, whatever the name itself changes, but they are getting into the online business. I mean, we got conversations from legitimate directors in the world, maybe taking movies at the theater and just making it online, which I hope they don't do. I love the movie going experience. It's like going to church for like a movie fan. But
sure.
Everything's going online, and Netflix and Amazon, what they're doing, and all these online providers are changing the game, and this is part of maybe what will help get this through the deal to get done and not be hung up by antitrust stuff because of what Netflix has done to the game and stuff like that. But I mean, if you had 3 wishes, be it movies or moments, that could come from this deal, what would it be?
Without question, the integration of the X-Men universe with Marvel is absolutely on top of the list.
That's the biggest question I've had a debate with other people, and I've seen a lot of places. How do you do that?
That is a really, really good question, man. But one interesting scenario, and I think it was you that might have thrown it out there, is, just a fallout from the Infinity War, to where, Thanos kind of, messes with reality. And, when it kind of gets back, anybody who's read the Infinity Gauntlet knows that Thanos kind of alters reality and it ends up getting reset at the end of it. If that's the direction they decide to go, when the reality gets altered back, here it is, the X-Men kind of get integrated into that. That could be one way to go.
It's not the perfect way. It's not the most dynamic story, but it's easy and it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like, with Spider-Man and Civil War, it's like, all right, we have Spider-Man now. Let's go ahead and kind of shoehorn him into this movie. It's totally fine. People are going to enjoy it, kind of get a taste, and then we'll kind of spin off and do his own movie. And it's worked out great. So I think they could do the same kind of thing with X-Men. Another wish, like you mentioned, and some of the other properties that people aren't really thinking about, like Alien, like Predator. Imagine, what they can kind of do with that. Now, Disney's not known for their adult fare by any means, but it'll be interesting to see if, maybe under the Fox label, they'll let just Fox keep doing their thing, and what's going to happen with those kind of franchises. Yeah. And also on the TV front, I mean, I understand they don't have, the Fox network and things like that, but who's to say if, something like The Simpsons or, any other things that have, big ties to Fox can get, maybe integrated, and somehow with Disney, which would be another check that Universal Studios has to write with their Disney, with their Simpsons world. But yeah, I mean, the possibilities are endless with this, man. I mean, what are your thoughts on it, man? What do you hope to see out of this deal?
I mean, those are great points. I like that you went just away from them. But I mean, my heart and soul is straight with what can happen in the Marvel Studios universe, because that's what makes the failures DC has going on stunning because they own everything. Warner Bros. Actually, straight up owns DC Comics, so they have the rights to all the characters. So the fact that they're flopping so much with this, while Marvel, which is been fractured the entire time, is working even in different elements, different companies. So now the fact it's that much closer to everything being finally together. I mean, Sony's still a weird thing hanging around. Maybe they pull Spider-Man back. They're doing dumb things like making Venom on its own. But if I had to three. First and foremost, and we talked about this in our own conversation a week or two ago, I just want to see Marvel get their hands on Doctor Doom and see what they could do with Doctor Doom. I mean, this is one of the most important epic characters in comic book history. He's up there with anybody. He's up there with Magneto's, Lex Luthor, whoever you want to put. Who's some great other bad guys? Magneto, Thanos. I mean, he's up there with a legendary bad guys. So to see what they can do when they've been so good with these important characters like Loki, there's bad guys all over the place, and maybe the Ronin or they've had some misses, but they're not like this is a major one, and they get that. They get this is a major one. This is a guy that can be threaded through a lot of stuff. He's a Fantastic Four villain. He's an Avengers villain. To see who they cast as him, see how they put him in, the introduction of Latveria into this world. I mean, we're just think about that, people. We're that much closer to Latveria, Wakanda, maybe even Atlantis if they can work out things with Namor, and even fucking Genosha, all existing in the same world. I mean, that's nuts. I mean,
I'm drooling over here, man. I'm salivating.
That for sure. Now that I bring up Genosha, it'd be fascinating to see them do the Genosha storyline. That would be very huge. And that would also make things easier if they had to dwindle down numbers or something like that. But let me see. Some of the other ones. Also, I think he could even get his own movie. And I can see it in the Marvel Universe. What they could do with Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer will be very interesting to see what they could do with him.
I would love to see a proper treatment of the whole Galactus saga, because Lord knows the cloud of dust that they threw into Rise of Silver Surfer does not count. That could be their next big event. I mean, realistically, it could be the very next big, because they've been all leading up to Thanos here at the end of Phase 3. Phases 4, 5, and 6 could be leading up to the whole arrival of Galactus. Silver Surfer gets thrown in there. Adam Warlock, the Fantastic Four. They can go nuts with that. I'd love to see that.
I like that idea, but also they've already kind of gone. Okay, we're setting up a big bad down the line. And if they did that, I'm not against Galactus. But you know what? I'd rather have, say, Doctor Doom be that big bad, because he just has so many layers and he has so many connections. It would be hard to just throw Galactus in a lot of movies. And he's not an interesting character. He's not. He doesn't have depth to him.
The man he eats planets, man. What else do you want?
Well, Ego's a living planet. I don't want to see him threaded through a bunch of movies, even as Kurt Russell. But, he would be interesting. Like I mentioned to you before, if they did, because even Kevin Feige has mentioned that the next phase of movies are going to be very different. They're going to go in a very different direction. So I'm wondering if things will be a little bit less interlocked and a little bit more standalone. Instead, it won't be all building to an Avengers movie. Maybe it all builds to the Fantastic Four movie, and that's where Galactus happened. Maybe you have Galactus references in a couple things. It builds to the finally a new Fantastic Four movie where he comes to Earth, and then you have all these characters help the Fantastic Four defeat him, and they're the stars of it, and the Avengers are not necessarily the main thing. But just the idea of a Kree-Skrull war, now that, because there was that issue with the Skrulls were going to be in Captain Marvel, but they're kind of a shared property, so who knows how far they can really go with them. They couldn't be really referenced with the Fantastic Four. Now they could have all the Skrull stuff, so they can do Kree-Skrull war. They can have Skrulls in the Fantastic Four. If they really want to thread something interesting, they could go Secret Invasion, and that would be very interesting, and show how powerful the Skrulls are. And they go as far back as Captain Marvel, Nick Fury, and S.H.I.E.L.D., and I think that's supposed to take place in the 90s, or is it Captain Marvel will take place in the 80s?
The timeline escapes me right now, man. But like you said, the possibilities are absolutely endless.
Maybe I think it's the 90s. Yeah, I think it's probably like that. But still, you're gonna have that thread in it. I'm dying to see Clark or Clark. I forgot how you say his name, but he's Super Skrull. I would love to see what they can do with a Super Skrull. Those kind of things, and then who doesn't? And also, who doesn't want to see Wolverine interact with these guys? Be it, we've debated it. Will it be Hugh Jackman? I don't know. I just can't see Marvel bringing one person in for a one-off just to do that when they have long-term plans for these kinds of movies. But just like Doctor Doom and see what I would love to see what they can do with the X-Men, and fix the X-Men. Havoc is not older than Cyclops, Beast is not way older. Jubilee did not live in the same age range and teenage at Cyclops and Jean Grey. They can get to fix all of this stuff that's all convoluted and mucked up, and I'd love to see them recast Wolverine. I'm curious who would get it. Nothing against Hugh Jackman, but I'm not against seeing what they can work their Marvel magic. And if it was up to me, you don't go First Class. We've already seen it. I don't want to see this First Class again. I would love to see them do the second reincarnation of the X-Men after I forgot what the Krakoa and everything. There was all these issues, whatever, where it was Wolverine, Cyclops, Storm, Kitty Pryde, Colossus, Nightcrawler, like that classic group that many of us knew late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, man.
Or even another one would be good. Again, the Jim Lee era X-Men in the early 90s. Cyclops, Beast, Jean Grey, Storm, Wolverine, I think it's Colossus, Gambit.
Oh man, that's a key player right there, man. And I guess the Channing Tatum Gambit movie is still happening. I guess I
don't know. I mean, it's not filming, and I would assume since this deal is happening, I'm sure Disney probably has the power to, or at least the say to say, okay, this movie we're gonna have to keep on hold until we get things through. I mean, just make something else. I mean, if it's not gonna fit into what their plans are, I can totally see that movie being put on hold and for a while because. I don't know if it even has a finished script or director or any of that stuff. So, I mean, that's what I want to see. That would be great. Gambit, Wolverine, Cyclops, Beast, X-Men. That would be super, super fun.
Oh my God, that'd be so. And you make a good point. As much as I would love to see Hugh Jackman come in there and interact with Downey and with Evans and everybody at least one time, recasting would be the smart way to go. And like you said, start fresh, man, because this X-Men universe has gotten so convoluted. As good and as fun as Days of Future Past was, it's not a movie I find myself revisiting. And honestly, I haven't even seen Apocalypse yet. I heard it was a hot mess and just have no real desire to check it out. Plus, if I can ask one absolute provision to all of this, put Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique to bed, please. Can we stop with the focus on her so much already? Good Lord Almighty, just put it all to bed. Her in general, I'm kind of over it, but that in particular, just let it rest. Mystique was not.
That's what I love about Marvel. Marvel doesn't dictate their revenue plans by who's the biggest star. That's what straight up happened with that. They casted Jennifer Lawrence back then. She wasn't a big name at all. She turns out to be a big name because of Hunger Games during the process of the sequels. And they're like, screw it, let's make this about Mystique. Mystique has never been. That's like making X-Men movies primarily about Sabretooth all of a sudden. No, man, Mystique's a villain. She's not good. And then now that they have two baddies that they flip-flop good bad all the time, it's so stupid at points, and it's just. It's made it weird and nonsensical, and just I don't get it. I'm dying for that to get fixed. And then also, what could come of that? How could they? I mean, they already got plans for the space and the things, and the fact that we again thinking of Latveria, Wakanda, Atlantis, the same place. We might finally be able to James Gunn will be able to reference Kree space, Skrull space, and Shi'ar space. In a movie, that's crazy. That's all. I mean, to see, I don't know what's happening with this Phoenix movie that's going to come out. I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping they don't do Imperial Guard because I want to see Marvel do Imperial Guard, those characters with Gladiator and everything. But just to see what they could do with the X-Men universe, like do it right.
Seriously.
Since we've already got, I also have James Franco Multiple Man movie. I don't know what's gonna happen with that one now too. You got the New Mutants thing coming out. It's gonna be curious if it does well. Is that integrated? The only thing I think gets integrated is Deadpool. That's it. They do not want the riot that will come from not bringing that back. But everything is in the air. But a thing I've heard rumors about. And since it hasn't been touched yet, but it is X-Men centric, man, Excalibur, Captain Britain, freaking Nightcrawler, introduce a European-based superhero team in a world where international box office is big. I think that would be easy money and interesting and fresh.
That's a real good point, especially since if you think about it, there's already a bunch of British actors playing these superheroes anyway.
Exactly.
But yeah, not to have one native to Britain, and just to kind of change the setting a little bit. I mean, we got a lot of it centered here in the United States, man. To have a superhero team based out of Britain would be great to see, man, and it'd be really fun. And that's a really fun group that has existed for a long time, along with the X-Men, man. And I like that you mentioned some of those things there. One thing in particular, you said, some tired characters they want to get away from. You mentioned the X-Men universe and the great villains that they have. How about we start focusing on some of those, man? I mean, I love Magneto and all, but do we need to really have to be the focus of that's like Lex Luthor with the Superman movies. Can we get beyond that already? Can we bring in Mr. Sinister? Can we bring in a lot of these other characters that I mean, they brought in Apocalypse for.
I think Sinister might be the bad guy in Deadpool 2.
Ah, okay. Oh wow, that'd be something. And you mentioned that them integrating Deadpool is a must. So much so that Disney actually had to address it in their press conference. To that it was just like, yes, Deadpool can stay R. It's fine, because that was a question that you're not going to change Deadpool, right? Yep. You're not going to change Deadpool, right? Yeah, you're absolutely not going to touch it. That's Deadpool 2 is another one to look forward to next year. But oh my God, this is exciting times and scary times. Like let's not, like you said, let's not get away from the fact that this is, like you said, yet one more major company that's taken away from the Hollywood system. Yeah. There's not too many creative outlets, but by the same token, like you mentioned, Netflix is kind of changing the game, and it's so funny how quickly it happened too. It's like you look at something like Redbox, to where it's like vending machine. Redbox kind of put Blockbuster out of business, and you figure, all right, Redbox is the way of the future. Redbox is going to end up being like the mini disc of all of this, to where it was like it was only a short window, and all of a sudden it's going to go the way of the dodo, because I don't see it lasting. I haven't been to a Redbox machine in I don't know how many years, but I damn sure got my Netflix subscription. But there's been a rise of independent cinema since coming on since the 90s, since Quentin Tarantino, Pulp Fiction, and all that, and it's been even stronger now because there's so many outlets. There's so many ways that filmmakers can get their stuff out there, whether it be online, whether it be original content to like a Netflix or like a Hulu, to where it's like the big studio system. As much as you'd love to have the machine behind you, it's not a necessity. I mean, you go back to the Oscars of last year, to where La La Land was like the favorite going in. The Best Picture winner ended up being a super small indie project like Moonlight. And that's been going on for a few years now. So, I don't think this is the death knell that people are making it out to be in terms of, the movie companies, because there are still a lot of outlets out there, and there still is creativity being, encouraged and financed, but it's something to keep an eye on for sure.
I mean, if this was the 90s, I get that fear, but I mean, the movie industry is gigantic. I mean, it's huge internationally. China has movies, India has movies, all these other countries make big movies. I mean, to assume that nothing will fill the void, especially now you just mentioned independent stuff is doing so well, there will always be investors. The void will be filled at some point. I mean, it's like, there's other studios have gone on there, and others, there wasn't a necessary Lionsgate or freaking DreamWorks 15 years ago. There were, what was it, Orion and like MGM and stuff like that don't exist anymore.
Candid Films, baby.
Things go down and things come up. Touchstone. Where's Touchstone anymore? With the horse, the unicorn, or whatever, running through the thing. I mean, that's not happening. Companies go up and companies go down. I mean, it's the same. It happens all the time. And also when something like this, talent leaves. There's a bunch of talent that's now going to go over to another studio and make those studios even bigger and better, or just be opened up with a new studio. So, I mean, there's always some prince in the Emirates looking to invest money, or in China somewhere. So there won't be a lack of money, or some Russian oil billionaire is going to put some money in the studio to get into Hollywood. Who doesn't want to get into Hollywood? So, I hope that, there isn't a big thing on antitrust. I hope it goes through relatively soon. Hopefully, maybe by the summer, something gets finalized, or maybe this time next year something gets finalized, or we could have Kevin Feige start making announcements. But, super exciting times. Super exciting conversation. Glad to get back and do a cheap Seats and The Stickman episode for the first time in a while. And to end the year strong, making 2017 a fantastic year. Final thoughts before we go. I mean, give them the social for the people out there that do end up listening to this. Give them the social if they want to hear you.
You can reach me on Twitter at Stickman Cinema. I have a page on Facebook as well, Stickman Cinema. So feel free to look me up. Hit us up with any feedback that you may have, any questions, any hate mail. We'd love to hear it all, man. So please let it do what it do.
You can find me on Instagram, Jericho Vendetta, Cheap Seats Chat on Twitter, and look up any of my stories on MMAsucker.com, MMA stuff, and Fight Strength Podcast with Phil Drew talking a bunch of cool fighters and trainers in the MMA world. But, I mean, to everybody out there listening, to all our friends, family, giving a listen, happy holidays, Merry late Christmas, Happy New Year. My brother, Jose, love you, man. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you. I am Jason Burgos. He is Jose Maldonado. Jose, I say bye-bye.
See you in 2018, man. Have a happy one.